Hold. Would need the key.
We're hot! Fall back! Fall back!
Welcome. In this video I'm going to show you how to throw together your very own suppressed DMR. This is a makeshift version, so don't run around the world looking for a suppressed DMR because it does not exist as far as I know. So this is just a combat rifle turned into a DMR basically. I'll also talk about the playstyle that goes along with using this weapon, as it's definitely not one for John Rambo. So you do have to think a little bit more and try to stay out the way as much as possible. Now then, here she is, our suppressed DMR. As I said, this is not an actual weapon. Don't run around looking for a weapon called the Suppressed DMR. I simply changed the name, so that's why it's called Suppressed DMR. It's just a combat rifle with a few ideas in place. One of them being that I'm trying to keep it as light as possible. Now, I'm not entirely sure if the weight of your weapon affects your sneaking ability. Obviously your armor does. The lighter armor is better for sneaking rather than the heavier armor. So I'm not sure if that applies to weapons as well, but for the sake of it, we might as well just go with the lightest stuff possible because it doesn't affect the stats at all and doesn't sacrifice any range or fire rate to have lighter parts on there. So I've got the powerful receiver on there. That's the best I could have at the time of making this video. I was around level 30 with 2-star rifleman perk and 2-star gun nut perk, so that's the best I could make, which for now is doing me just fine. As for the suppressor, you can't put that on till gun nut 3 or 4 I think for this weapon, but what I did was I went to Diamond City and the vendor happened to have a weapon, a combat rifle that had a suppressor on it, so I bought that, whipped the suppressor off it and stuck it on my DMR. So if there's any parts that you want but you can't unlock them yet, go and check out the vendors, maybe you can buy it off one of them. Of course we need to keep a single shot receiver on there. You don't want any of the automatic receivers, otherwise it won't be too good. And this is really for those who have taken points in the rifleman perk, otherwise this weapon will probably be too weak to really be effective. And all the other parts I've pretty much chosen to be as light as possible. The standard magazine, so it's lighter, a smaller scope. I don't really like the long range scopes on this, I think they zoom in a little bit too much. A dot sight is much better for my playstyle. As for how one should play using this weapon, much like any stealthy playstyle, you just want to stay out the way and keep a kind of medium distance most of the time. Light and movement speed affect your ability to be spotted in this, so stick to the shadows and try not to move too quickly. Trying to remain undetected for as long as possible is kind of essential for this playstyle because you're going to be wearing lighter armors. You can't take that much damage, so damage evasion is really key. You just need to find ways to stay out of the way and avoid as much damage as possible, whether it be the obvious of hiding behind corners. If you're against ghouls, you can jump up on top of cars and things like that to stay out of the way. And if someone does come and get all up in your grill and start meleeing you in the face, just create some distance, just literally run away. It's the best thing to do. You'll see me do it here in a second on this one. One of these legendary boys comes and gets all up in it. There he is. So try to do damage, but when he's in my face, blast him in the face and I'm just taking damage. No, not good. Run away, get out of sight, let your companion take some damage and you can finish them off from a distance. Which brings me nicely to another piece of important kit, your companion. If you are going to bring a companion along with you, I'd go for a melee one. Because they charge into things, they pick up all the aggro and all the enemies go after them, which gives you that valuable time to do as much damage from a distance as you can. This weapon's also really good for taking out legs, so if you've got someone charging at you, a melee attacker like a ghoul for example, if you take out their legs they can't chase you, especially with ghouls because their leg falls off. So ghouls are pretty much useless once their legs fall off because they just lie there, especially against the legendary ghouls who can hit quite hard. And this is all of me talking about survival mode, by the way. I'm playing on survival, so this stuff matters. Maybe on the easier ones you don't take so much damage, so it's not that big of a deal. But on survival you take hits pretty hard, so you have to avoid damage. And that is pretty much the gist of it. I think this is a really awesome way to play. I find it gets really intense, and you can, if you're lucky and you do it well, you can pull off taking out like an entire settlement without really alerting anyone and getting really under attack. It's easier said than done, given that sometimes they just seem to detect you even though you don't do anything wrong. But that's Fallout for you. So if you've got yourself a sneaky build and you're into your rifles, your single shots, then give this a go because I think you will thoroughly enjoy it. And it's a pretty easy weapon to manufacture as well. All the parts are pretty easy to get. Combat rifles become pretty common when you start to level up a bit, so you shouldn't have any problems throwing this together. I also highly recommend trying to get those sneak attacks as much as possible, because 2 times damage is obviously a hell of a big thing, especially if you get it in a headshot. You can just take someone out instantly, or 2.5 damage if you've got the perk for it. The only slight downside is the ammo. At the moment it takes .45 ammo, which isn't the most common ammo in the Wasteland, so you do end up spending a fair bit of money on ammo. But that's not too big of a deal. The only other issue I would say would be when things do get up close to you, if you can't run away and create distance, you're probably better off switching to a different weapon, maybe a shotgun or something if you've got one, because the hip fire on this kind of sucks, so at close range this weapon isn't fantastic. So keeping distance, like I say, is really paramount. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this interesting and you'll maybe give your stealthy DMR life a go. And I will leave you with this footage of a bit of utter ghoul destruction.
Yeah.